And the wording of the petition, I wasn't quite comfortable with moving it as proposed, because it requires us to take a position, and I don't think we should take a position until, because it says to receive and support. What have you got? Yeah, see, it says the council receive and support. I don't mind receiving the petition and requesting staff to provide advice on the three schools, presumably to the community board.
Well, yeah, it's a little bit unclear because the committee, I mean, normally when we get petitions that we'd refer them to the appropriate committee for a report, but obviously, you know, time is of the essence, I guess, on some people might say on these ones. There is actually work going around, like if you take to Te Waka Inua, I mean, that's really part of the master plan program. So again, like, yeah, I think it's good to get progress on it, and maybe just getting a report back to council via the community board is the way to go. But
yeah,
the committee might also the appropriate committee might want to know the information.
Yeah. But that's okay to receive the petition and request staff to provide advice to the community board on those three schools?
Well, what my understanding is, what we would get is a report, not advice. We've had some advice already, but what we actually need is a report so we can make a decision. That's my understanding in response to the petition.
Well, is there a material difference? Can we ask for a report to go to the community board?
You can ask for a report to the community board with regard to establishing school speed zones, something like that.
Yeah.
Good.
With regard to establishing, yeah, but the community board doesn't have that by way of delegation at this stage, so it's something that we'll have for recommendations back to council.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Wondering if the memo that staff are going to give us through the process could be also sent to Nook, because understanding that there is a process, and these three schools are just some of many throughout Christchurch that are really desperate for these zones. So that information to go out.
I think where I think this is heading is that during the LTP process, which is not the annual plan process, but the LTP process, I believe that we're going to have a real consideration of whether all schools should have a 40 km zone around them. Yanni's raised a good point though, because just down the road from St Anne's is a Worcester master plan concept, which is based on 30 kilometres per hour in the Woolston shop area. So, you know, so these things are not straightforward, but I think the LTP is the right place for the big decisions, it's not piecemeal. But these three, they've asked to have a report done, and I don't have any problem with them getting a report done. It may well be that the report is that they're not prioritised at this stage. It may well be that, yes, actually all three of these have a priority, and actually it might be two of the three, you know. So let's not prejudge the outcome. Let's go through a due process before we make a decision.
The staff would already have. It's about explaining that there is a process and there is a priority.
I think that's appropriate for the community board. The MP, he presented a report to the community board. It is entirely appropriate that the community board handle that relationship. It's not something that's transferred to us. If the community board want to share the information once they have received it, I think it would be entirely appropriate that the community board fed that back to them.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to speak to
Aaron.
Yeah, if the council's, and I don't know if we do have a position, it'd be good to know if we do, on set speed limits outside schools. Do we agree they should be all the same?
It's case by case basis.
Yeah.
And there are 3 funded a year. I don't know where you've been for the last, half an hour in the conversation, but we've had this discussion exactly about how we have a process. We're going to have the process.
So you're saying the council's position is that all schools should have exactly the same?
No,
speed
I
size?
just said that it is probably something that we're going to have to deal with in the LTP process. At the moment, we fund about 3 per year. We've just been advised that funding's been obtained for the changes at Hayata out of a different fund because it doesn't fit within the funding arrangements that we've already got. I mean,
Okay, but before you lose your rag, just the...
Point of order.
No, it's all right.
There is a specific...
It's all right, it's all right.
Okay, cool.
Could Councillor Keown please make your point?
Sorry for sounding like you may sound, making a reference that you may have sounded stressed, but I'm asking the question...
That really wasn't very helpful, thank you.
Yeah, so I just apologise for that, but...
No, your apology wasn't helpful, actually. Could you just stick to your point?
Ask me to apologise. My point is that there is already a national campaign to have all schools with a consistent speed limit outside them. Is that our position, or do we... Because the way we're funding it is going to take another 60 odd years to get through all the schools.
Which is why I said that we are likely to include such a position in our LTP process. We are not going to make a change to our LTP through our annual plan. So that's simply what the decision that we reached as a council, that we were not going to make such a major change to our LTP, any major change to our LTP in the annual plan process. We all agreed to that. So I'm suggesting that if we are going to have a position as a council, we do it in the LTP process. In the meantime, we've received a petition on these 3. I don't know where they sit on the current area of priorities. I don't know whether they're just off the current area of priority. We are going to get a report from staff that will set all of that out, and we will know exactly where these 3 sit, and we will then have a consideration of the matter once the community board has reported back to us. Yanni.
Just wanted to speak to this in terms of 15. So what you see from the report is that the board received the petition, but we didn't have the staff comment that was being put into the council report. And if you go through that, what you find is actually all 3 of these schools have existing council projects underway around looking at amenity improvement through either the master plan, the Ferry Road master plan around Wolfston Park, and the cycleway outside Linwood Ave. So actually there is work going around how do we make these areas safer and increase the amenity for pedestrians, cyclists and people just generally going through. So I think it is important that the board does get a chance to look at that and get further staff information to respond, because actually this isn't so much, as I understand it, about the school speed zones, whether they're 40k's or not, and just plonk them in. It is actually about how do you create a safer environment. And as I said, there's work already happening on those. So I don't think that this needs to wait for amendments to the LTP or anything like that. I think what it needs is a really good look at what's happening, and the one in particular is Te Waka Anua, which, you've basically got the Ministry of Education making a decision, or the Minister, to increase a school significantly in size. The Community Board has already put in funding to actually do some basic, smaller enhancements to safety that has been worked through with the school and was told was going to be good, but we did ask for a review after that was put in place. Because we were concerned that that wasn't going far enough. But it does raise the issue, is there any requirement on the ministry when it expands schools or merges schools to actually look at doing anything themselves in terms of their obligations? And I welcome getting that back, because this was one of the concerns that was raised by the community when Phillipstown was closed and put into Te Waka Anua, was the whole issue of kids' safety. And it just seems that we haven't quite got the process right, where the ministry can make these significant decisions with a significant impact on a community, have no responsibility for addressing it, and then puts the burden back on us as a city. But Having said that, children's safety is incredibly important, and I think we do have a role to play, but it would be good to get those reports back to the community board. I actually think all three of these can be addressed relatively easily through the existing processes we have underway.
Yeah. So you're moving that, Yanni?
Yeah.
Sorry, this is a debate.
I just wondered if Phillipstown already had one.
It's not Phillipstown.
I know, before it was moved.
I don't know, but look, these can all be dealt with in the report that's coming. Does someone want to second the motion before we debate it? And do we? Oh, Sarah, right.
Thank you. I'm pleased to hear from Councillor Johansson, who's got more local knowledge on these matters than I do, that there may well be work underway that will be referenced in the report when it comes back, that mean we can deal with these three particular cases in a certain way within existing work streams, which would be great. But I think we need to acknowledge that, whilst this has been raised as a local issue, we know from the previous item that we debated that 40-kilometre speed zones in front of schools and around schools isn't only related to these three schools, it's far wider than that. In fact, it's not only related to Christchurch, it's a national issue. So whilst the report coming back will address the issues that have been raised in the petition around these, clearly we need to have that bigger debate, quite possibly as part of the long-term plan, and it would be good if we were able to, as part of a commitment to putting 40k speed limits around all schools, look to some form of government funding or to engender some kind of a national debate around that, given that it's likely to be a national problem rather than a problem that just affects Ferry Road, that just affects Linwood, that just affects Christchurch. It's a far bigger issue than that, and I think needs to be acknowledged as such.
Right. And
I'd like to support those comments. I think that there's a growing awareness amongst us all that we are dealing with a significant community issue, which is about our children being able to walk safely to school, and we want to see a change in behaviour, and so we're not going to have children walking to school unless parents feel confident that they are going to be, to the best of their knowledge, safely able to walk to school. So I think it's great that we're having this debate, and I hope that we can continue that and get some significant things in place in the long-term plan.
thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. I'd really